Welcome back, Woo Crew. We're here for another episode with you, and we have something extremely special today. We're going to indulge you in an Imbolc ceremony. So I'm here as your host, Ellie, with my co-host,
Eileen.
and we're so excited to bring this to you today. But first, Eileen, I think that you have a review for us to read out. Do you not?
I do, yeah. And this time it actually comes from Instagram. We are still running our giveaway. If you go on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and leave a review, you will be entered in a draw to win access to all our live calls that happen inside the Patreon for the next month of February. This is open until the 5th. So head on over there, maybe pause this episode, do it right now before you forget. We love reading these reviews. We love sharing them with you. So head on over there and do that. But this one comes from a follower on Instagram, Hagatha Hayes. And they say, I've been binge listening to this podcast and I've really enjoyed every episode. Lots of great information in bite-sized chunks, but not the standard witchy episodes that seem to be repeated over and over. There have been some interesting subjects that I've never heard podcasts talk about. I like the way the hosts can have different views and opinions, but really listen to each other with no judgment and open minds. It's really helped me have a more clear understanding of information I was struggling with, and that no one option is right. I just might need to find what fits for me. Hashtag Woo Curious Podcast. Thank you so much for posting that, Hagatha Hayes. We are so glad that's how you're experiencing the podcast, because that is exactly how we intend it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Shall we talk about magical moments?
Yeah, I
I feel
suppose
like
we
you have
shall.
one big magical moment. Well, no, maybe not one big magical moment, but I feel like you have a really good magical moment this week to share.
I do. I mean, if anybody's watching this on YouTube, you will see that my background is very different than usual because I am in Argentina. I'm in Buenos Aires. And we arrived here on Sunday. As you listen to this, it'll be a week and a day ago. And we're here in the city for at least a month and in the country for 3 months. My partner and I decided to take a grand adventure and go live elsewhere for a while because we have the ability to work from wherever the heck we want, which is amazing. So it's been really, really great. We spent a week in Rio prior to arriving in Buenos Aires, and Rio was fun, but it was hot. It was too hot. Even the locals said it was too hot right now. They're having like massive heat, rains happening at unusual times. Actually, that's not so magical. Climate change is real everywhere, and the locals are feeling it there too. But it was also just there's a bit more of an edge to Rio. It's a bit like you got to keep your wits about you. You do here as well, but it's very different. We arrived here and on my birthday actually last week, and we're like, oh, this is our vibe. This
Mm.
is it. We're staying in like a trendy little neighborhood. There's cafes all over the place and boutiques and cobbled streets and just a lot more of a chill kind of vibe, and it helps that it's not ridiculously hot. It's still hot. It was 32 today, but it's dry, so that's helpful. Yeah. So that's my magic. I'm living in a new place and trying to learn Spanish frantically because I don't speak it.
The wonders of Duolingo. Thank you for that.
What about you? What's your magical moment this past week?
Magical moment lately has really been a moment in time for the priestess training that I'm taking. We are currently in the frequency or the archetype of the Great Mother. And what this means is that we are contemplating, we're doing ceremony similar to what we're going to do today, but we're contemplating the archetype or the frequency of the Great Mother and how this shows up in her life. And one of the most profound things that came out of this ceremony in the last few weeks was the archetype of the Great Mother is unconditional love. And that's fine to, okay, great. Yeah, I love you unconditionally. But do we really know how to experience that unconditional love? And one of the profound lines in ceremony that the Great Mother would say is that there is nothing that I can do to make you love me. And there is nothing that you can do to make me not love you. And
Mm.
the latter half of that was just, it soothed both my rebel and my good girl who are constantly at odds with the world, with with the patriarchy, if you will, with my life, with my relationships. And it's really curious to contemplate this and see where it shows up in my life. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because I'm vying for more love, or I'm doing this to get your attention because I feel like the love has somehow been transferred to somewhere else. So it is just this really great moment in time to pause and go, how is this playing out? How do I see this in my life?
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. I love that so much for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks. So before we open ceremony in a very kind of formal way for our listeners, we'd love to welcome you into the energies of Imbolc. And so I have a semi-poem. I guess it's not really a poem, but I'm gonna read it because this is what I wrote at the top of my document when I was preparing for the Imbolc ceremony that I'll be holding on February 1st, which is Imbolc proper. Or if we're gonna go on the Celtic calendar, it actually begins the evening of the 31st, because with the Celtic beginning of a new day is actually at nightfall. And it is the season of spring in the Celtic calendar. But if we're in North America, which I'm not, but if we are, especially in Canada, for most of us, it doesn't really feel like spring yet, but there's like this hope in the air. So Imbolc arrives, speaking to us of spring. Even though much of the land is still blanketed in snow, there is a faint hope in the air. The earth is pregnant with the promise of new life just around the corner. We gather together to mark this midway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, to honor the turning of the seasons and tune in to the wisdom of the earth. Join us in celebration.
So as we step into the gates of ceremony, I have a contemplation for you. The contemplation is that I am the light shining through the forest trees. Be with me as we feel into the tension of what has yet to come.
That pregnant promise sitting there. And I'm going to invite you, if you are able to, if you're not driving, if you're not, doing something that requires your full attention or your eyes open, to take a moment and pause, feeling your feet on the ground, perhaps placing your hand on your chest, while I open with a prayer. And I'm going to call on the Creator, Great Mother, animal allies, spirit guides, and ancestors for their presence, their wisdom, their guidance, and their blessings, as Ellie and I and each of you listening share the sacred ceremony together today. I set the intention of only good healing in a good way for each of us present, and for any other person, creature, or loving light being our ceremony here may affect this day. Permission to open ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's cast our circle or call in the directions depending on who you are and what your traditions are. So you're going to sit again with your hand on your heart if that feels good for you. Allow the eyes to close. And as we call in the directions for this ceremony, we're really calling in our allies to walk with us as we move through, just as Eileen just asked, through our ancestors, through our guides. We're calling in the direction of north. This is our winter, our bear energy, our hibernation. It is the strong winds and the snowfall. It is the silence. It is the smell of cinnamon and pine. Hail and welcome, North. Thank you for guiding us. And we call in the direction of the East. This is our spring. This is the maiden energy, the newness. This is the babbling brooks, the snow melting, the flowers beginning to push through the earth. This is the smell of the earth as it begins to thaw. Hail and welcome. Thank you for your guidance to the east.
Thank you.
We call in the direction of the south. This is our fieriness. This is our pushing through, seeing the rewards of our harvest. It's smelling the roses. It's enjoying the garden. It's feeling the sunshine on our face. It's the smell of everything blooming, but especially the apple blossoms, the fruit trees. Hail and thank you to the direction of the south.
Thank you.
We call in the direction of the west. This is the fall. This is the releasing of things that are no longer needed. We have finally come to full harvest, pulling root vegetables, beets, carrots, potatoes out of the earth, unearthing things that we may not have been able to see or perceive before we dug down to the depths to get them. These are the colors of orange and yellow and brown and maroon. We hail and welcome. Thank you for guiding us the direction of west.
Thank you.
And we call in the ether, the unknown. We look to the sky. We see the stars. We allow this to be another guiding point for us. This is the unconscious, the creativity that has yet to come. Hail, welcome, and thank you for guiding us to the ether.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale it out the mouth. I'm going to pass it back over to you, Eileen, for a meditation.
So the energies of Imbolc, as we've already spoken to, are the energies of that spring, that new awakening. We spoke a little bit in our podcast episode just after January 1st about how for both of us it's not a good beginning time. And we said just don't try yet. And now we're starting to get into the energies of, okay, now it might be a good time to start trying, as it were, to start moving out into the world and taking action. For some of you, you may still just be kind of gathering yourself, and Ostera in 6 weeks, Easter time, might feel like a better beginning, and that is okay as well. But I want to, for those of you who are ready to start to move into this new year in a more actioned way, I want to give us a way to kind of recap, revisit, and close that portal. If you weren't able to attend Ellie's closing the portal ceremony, this will be, a very, very, very mini version of something like what she offered inside of there. And it's a guided visualization. So whenever you feel ready, connecting back into your breath and your body, hand on your heart and one on your belly, if that feels good, or loosely in your lap, eyes closed or a gentle gaze downwards. And really allowing your breath to move through your body, feeling your rib cage expand and soften on the in-breath, and allowing it to settle, releasing any tension you might be holding in your jaw and your neck as you exhale. If you're seated, making sure your feet are on the ground if you are able, beginning to root down through your feet, through your seat bones in your chair, imagining a root dropping from your body through the surfaces below you, through the floor, through the building you are in, and pushing down into the soil. And imagine that root pushing past earthworms, past the roots of plants that are dormant and ready to burst forth, down past rocks, through the clay. Continue following your root as it pushes down past underground lakes and rivers, through cracks in the bedrock, until eventually it reaches the Earth's molten core. But instead of heat, it is light. The pulsing, beautiful, bright, light energy. The heartbeat of Mother Earth. Allowing this energy to bathe your roots and pulling it up through your roots, all the way back up through all the layers of the earth and into your body. Letting yourselves be bathed in this tender, nourishing, loving earth energy. Now, with this energy, with this cradling, gentle, nourishing support of the earth, zoom out. And I'd like you to visualize zooming out over a timeline, where it's almost as though you can see your life branching out or moving forward from last January. Bring yourself back to January 2023. Where were you? Who were you with? You remember what dreams and goals you held? Begin to follow this timeline along through the months of last year. Focus on the events that brought you joy and accomplishments that you feel proud of. Any precious moments. As you move along this timeline, you may also revisit what was hard. What didn't go as planned? What kind of sucked? And from both the joy and the accomplishments, as well as the hardships and the sorrows, what were the lessons that you learned? How did you change and grow? What have you learned you will leave behind? And before we move back into 2024, scanning that timeline of 2023, what are you grateful for? Find a moment or perhaps several that bring you a sense of gratitude and really feel into it. Let it flood through your body, mingling with that earth energy that is still there supporting you. Now, with 2023 fresh in your mind, with that perspective that only hindsight can bring, consider what you wish to bring forward with you into 2024 and what you wish to leave behind. If you have a word of the year for 2024, you can call it to mind now. And if you don't, that's okay. Perhaps just set an intention for how you wish to move in the world this year. And with that intention or that word as your North Star guiding you forward, see yourself on your timeline taking the first steps into a new beginning. And slowly taking a few more breaths as you come back to your body, coming down from that bird's eye perspective view, returning to the sensation of your feet on the floor, of your hand on your heart or in your lap. Bringing awareness back to your breathing and the room that you are in. Taking your time to come back to the room and opening your eyes when you feel ready to do so.
Thank you for that, Eileen. That was wonderful.
My pleasure.
Oh, I'm here entering the frequency of Imbolc. I am Imbolc. I am the crocus pushing through the earth. I am the birds singing their song for the spring. I am the sounds of the babbling brook in the forest and the smell of the tall trees. I am the sound of the footsteps in the last bit of snow.
I am the lamb in the belly of the ewe, ready to be born. I am the maiden returning.
I am Imbolc. So I am the fertility of what has yet to come. What do you need to lay down in order to birth what you desire? I am the fertility of what has yet to come. What do you need to lay down in order to birth what you desire?
So I have some questions for reflection, for journaling. You may wish to pause the recording as you go through and journal now in this space of sacred ceremony. I would suggest that perhaps you do. But if you can't, you can always come back to this moment as well. And I'll pop them in the show notes too, so that you can easily access them. When I hold ceremony for the Wheel of the Year, we call in each direction in a slightly different way than we have today. This is a melding of both Ellie and I's ceremonial practices. And part of the way I craft my ceremony is by having us journal in each of the directions with some of that energy. And so I'm going to offer, I think I actually have 6 questions, which is clearly more than 4 directions. But I'll offer up these questions around the themes of Imbolc, which is that blossoming anew. The ground is getting wet from the melting snow. There's lots of leaf mold. It's fertile. It's been composting over the winter. It's sticky, it's earthy, it smells. And there's so much promise of life there. So for your journaling reflections, what intentions for new beginnings, new learnings, or new opportunities for growth are you planting at this time of awakening? What actions do you need to take to ensure that your intentions can grow and blossom? How are you feeling as we near the end of the long winter? And is that different than how you would like to be feeling? What lessons have you learned over the winter? And what will you leave behind as we shift towards spring? And take as much time with those questions as you need to really sink into them. They really are an echo of everything that both Ellie and I have offered in this ceremony. And when you feel like you've written as much as you would like to, come back to the recording or come back to the podcast, and we'll close with a prayer. But before I do, I just want to offer the space, Ellie, if there's anything else that you feel like you want to add in or offer into the space.
I think it's time that we close this out.
Perfect. All right. So without further ado, I will call upon the Creator, Great Mother, animal allies, spirit guides, and ancestors. Thank you for your presence, for your guidance, for your blessings, as Ellie and I and each of the people who are listening today shared this sacred ceremony together. I ensure the intention of only good healing in a good way for each person present and any other person, creature, or loving light being our circle and the intentions set here may affect this day. Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us for this ceremony. This is one of many ceremonies to come for those of you that are in our Patreon, which is our exclusive Woo Crew membership. If you are interested in that, we'll put a link below. But Eileen, tell us about what parts of this ceremony they can find in the Patreon after the recording here, after listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so I will be uploading the guided visualization that I took us through today as a standalone inside the Patreon, so that those of you in there have a really easy way to re-access that visualization. You could use it anytime you feel like you need a fresh start through the year. The fact that I said January doesn't really matter. You can go to February or March or whenever. But that's going to be something that we do routinely. And yes, for the future ceremonies that we're going to be offering, we'll do those inside of Patreon as well.
So thank you so much for coming. Eileen, tell me about anything that you have that people can access. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, well, I have an Imbolc ceremony. So if this feels like you didn't get enough ceremony, I do have a full Imbolc ceremony online on February 1st at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, so noon PST. And that'll be similar to this, but we spend a little bit more time in each direction and really calling in those different energies. So if you feel like joining, that's over on my website. There'll be a link below. Otherwise, I have, waitlist open for Unleash Your Inner Witch. I am running my 6-week flagship intro course to all things woo. And I'm really excited. I actually spent a bit of today creating some more resources. I'm looking at creating a workbook. I'm really, really stoked for this time around. I feel like I'm learning more every time I run it. So waitlist is open for that. There'll be some juicy bonuses for those on the waitlist. And as always, if you are interested in diving deeper with me one-on-one, I do have some space available inside Rekindled, which is my 6-month one-on-one mentorship container tender held space. What have you? So those are my offerings here for today. Yeah.
And
What
remind
about
me,
you?
are you still doing the distance healing?
Yeah, that's part of Rekindled. I haven't been
Okay.
speaking to it on its own. If it's something that you really want and that's all you want, hit me up. We'll see what we can do. Rekindled really weaves the distance healing into it. It's distance every other week. It's a one-on-one once a month, which can be healing, it can be coaching, it can be a blend of the two, it can be ceremony, it can be whatever it needs to be, and then a whole bunch of other things sprinkled throughout as well.
I love this. What a
Mm-hmm.
great witchy offering.
Mm-hmm. It feels really good. I just love it.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to be walking through it with women.
I love this. With
Yeah.
me, if you want to work with me over the next couple of weeks, actually, when this airs, I have the waitlist open, but also we are beginning the full launch of Wild Woman. And the other day I spoke to somebody about who is Wild Woman for, and I said it's for the woman who has everything. Like they have, you've got the job, you've got the family, you've got the partner, you've got maybe the house, the car, the whatever, and still you feel like you're missing something, like you're dead inside. Like you aren't quite sure of what your direction is. Like you're angry, but you don't know what you're angry at. And you know that you can't express that anger because it's not safe to express it. All of the encompassing things that come with in this moment of time, taming ourselves. We've been tamed for so long. And so Wild Women will have a ceremony. It'll be an open ceremony for anybody that wants to come. And I'll pop the link for that in the show notes so that you can get on the list. Come on over.
Love it. Yeah, it's gonna be so
Mhm.
good. I love it so much.
So a gentle reminder
Oh,
that we do have a giveaway going on right now. If you want to come and leave us a review, come on over. Come talk to us. Come find us on Instagram. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any ideas for topics that you want us to cover. We're back to our regular programming next week with the usual style podcast and a little hint of we have some guests that are coming up in the future.
ooh, we
Which is
sure
really exciting.
do.
Yeah. So if you know of anybody that you think that we should connect with, send them our way. We would love to meet and chat with them.
Mm-hmm. Thanks
Thanks
so
so
much,
much.
Woo Crew.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, crew. Thanks. Bye.